Hello everybody, this time I'm coming to you from the Beacon Heights Trail. It's one of the trails in the Blue Ridge Mountains here in North Carolina. And I wanted to use this opportunity to tell you guys a little bit about some of the management frameworks that we have to balance humans in the environment in terms of tourism. One of the main frameworks is called limits of acceptable change. Limits of acceptable change basically means that we are managing impacts by looking at our baseline and looking at how much change are we willing to accept. So if you look at this trail right here, this trail is about maybe 3 feet wide. So what does that mean? If this trail continues to grow, plants stop growing, right? Because a seedling that will fall on a soil like this that is compacted, it's not going to grow. So what we do, for example, we have a baseline. This baseline would be this. We say, we're going to change our management strategy if the trail continues to grow bigger. And how do we do that? We could close off the trail. We could create it so people walk in a single file line. So that's limits of acceptable change. We pick a baseline, we pick how much change we're willing to accept, and then we manage our resource based on that. Pause. And so the other management framework, we're now on top of the mountain, is called carrying capacity. And carrying capacity has to do with a limit. How many people can a resource sustain without having major impacts? Now imagine on this trail and on this peak, that might not be many, right, before we see major impacts. This depends on a variety of factors. Depends on the type of soil, the type of vegetation. Here, for example, we have rock. I'm sitting on a rock, right? So we don't see footsteps, we don't see impacts. If I were to walk on a forest trail, be in a cave, it's totally different, right? So carrying capacity has to do with finding that magic number of how much is too much, how many people, how many visitors is too much. And there is a concept of a biological aspect of it, which has to do with the environment, right? How much can the resource take? But there's also a social aspect to it, right? If I'm sitting here, how many people is too many people for me to not feel comfortable, for me to not feel like I'm actually getting the experience and getting, today we're super lucky there's nobody here. But imagine if there was, 100 different people here, would I feel like I have the mountain experience that I'm actually wanting, right? So there's this sense of crowding, this social aspect to it too. In terms of the resource, how do we measure that, right? It's actually pretty difficult to do. Some of the people have estimated, for example, for a cave, um, the carrying capacity to only be 6 people per day. At the reefs in Florida and the Caribbean, it's about 6,000 divers per year. Carrying capacity has had many issues and a lot of criticism. Why? Because a lot of times it's not so much a hard number as opposed to behavior, the type of behavior that tourists do, right? So carrying capacity is a quantitative concept, but in essence, really, it's also how we behave that really makes the resource change an impact. And that's why a lot of the agencies, such as the U.S. Forest Service and National Park Service, has actually adapted the limits of acceptable change instead of carrying capacity as their management framework. Hope this helps you guys enjoy the view. It's a beautiful day. Ciao. Aloha.